my name is Karen Spencer.
My name's John Spencer.
And we have one daughter, Macy, who is now 8. She turned 8 in July, and she was just over a year old when we adopted her. When we signed up, they said once you do your paperwork, it'll be about a year. So that's kind of what we had mentally prepared for. And then there were just slowdown after slowdown, and the process changed, and just lots of stuff going on. And so, so 6 months of paperwork, and then 3.5 years of waiting. Then we got matched in May of 2009, and then traveled in July of that year. Yeah. So it's just a few weeks later that we traveled.
So the home study didn't get off to the smoothest start. We were concerned about how the house would look when the home study came about, and so at that time I shaved my head. I decided to have a new look, and my wife was concerned about it coming across as, what did you say, scary? So between that and buying new furniture or buying new components for the kitchen, like a new garbage can, the preparation for that was more, the anticipation of what it was going to be like was great, but when it actually came, the home study, it wasn't that bad.
It was just stressful. Like you just go through
yes.
these feelings of, oh, someone's coming into your home and they're going to really decide if you can be a parent or not. So you make these completely, now you look back and it's just these completely irrational decisions, right? Like, a haircut, or I was insistent that we drive to the Container Store the night before and we get a new trash can for the kitchen, because, you really in your head believe that, because in a way someone is coming in to judge you, right? And to make this decision. And it's nerve-wracking. They lasted for probably an hour or two, and they ask you questions together, and then separate. They ask you the same questions separate, like your views on parenting and how you feel about certain things. They ask you separately to kind of see, how in line you are, and you have no idea what they're going to ask. So it was stressful, but I personally made it way more stressful than it probably needed to be. And then actually we had to go through for a year, we had post visits. So they don't call those home studies, but for a year, our social worker came out every 3 months, was it? I think every 3 months or whatever, for a year. And so they have to file reports back to China on the health and well-being of the child. But we never really told her. It was just from the beginning, that was just her story.
It's really hard to tell. It was just always there. We just shared the information from the beginning. We didn't really, benchmark when we first did it. It just was it was constant. It was a constant.
And I think to the point that we realized probably when she was about 3.5, that we may have overdone it in a way, because she at that point thought everyone was adopted. We were boxing up some clothes for a friend, and I said, we're going to send some of your clothes because a friend of mine just had a baby. And she said, did she go to China? Like she, thought that that's just what you did. And then even with her cousins, she would say, how old was Ivy when she was adopted? I'm like, no, Ivy wasn't adopted. She'd be like, oh, yeah, that's right. Like to her, that was just so normal that's how it happened. So then we kind of had to teach the the other way, right? That people come into a family. So, and she knows her story. She's actually, was it last year? That book, one of the books that we read to her constantly as a child was, or as a baby, was Over the Moon. And when she was in first grade, she decided to take that book to her class, and she read that book to her class. And then her teacher, after she read the book, the teacher said, does anybody have any questions for Macy? And they asked some pretty tough questions, and she was telling me about it, and I kind of held my breath, because we talk about it all the time, but you never know like at what point she's going to get those questions from her peer group, right? And you're not there, and she has to answer them. But at some point, as she starts spending more and more time away from us and doing her own things, and she has her own circles, they don't see her as an extension of a Caucasian couple. They see her as, a Chinese female, right? And so she has to be comfortable enough in that identity to be able to handle that. So, so we probably could do more in terms of connecting to that culture. I mean, we celebrate the major holidays and, that type of thing, but that, that I do think about that, right? Is at some point when she's out there in the world, that's how they're going to see her, right? As a Chinese woman, and she's going to have to be comfortable with that. But I don't know. She just seems like I think she'll be fine.
I don't know, but you think about it. Our perception is a different generation than where the generations are now. Because what we're projecting, what her experience is going to be, is probably going to be completely different.
You're
because
right.
ethnicity is really becoming more.
Yeah. It's
less.
a different world.
Yeah.
That's true.